listening to Strange Cargo, featuring the voices of Barrett Harwood, Fiona Joslin, and Aidan Greengrass. Score by Zach Carlston.
Even before I knew about wheel sizes, makes, and models, I could identify the humming of my pop's truck, the machinery churning out an ancient beat through the Nebraska night. It was a noble tame giant, arteried with loops of thick, colorful wires and mirrors like horns. My pop's life was yellow stripes and green signs, his days directed by faded black arrows and staticky radios. I would tell my classmates that today he was in Cincinnati, tomorrow Alaska, but his route was merely across Middle America. When I asked him what he carried so dutifully across state lines, I could never get a straight answer. He'd bring me little gifts from wherever he went, a seashell, a lone tarot card, a lyre. One time he brought back a page of worn sheet music with notes neither I nor my band teacher had ever seen. Everything he gave me I lined up on my windowsill, overlooking a major highway. The house always stank of exhaust fumes, that sickly sweet scent of journeys. When I couldn't sleep, I'd watch passing headlights illuminate his gifts and wonder about the drivers below. One October, another truck came home with my pop. The two truckers, from the Crete Transportations and Services, just like him, needed a fuel change, and he had the tools for it on the way. One man with shiny shoes introduced himself as Cavil. The other man with a comb-over called himself Alabaster.
See anything good on the road today?
I asked my pop eagerly as he snapped the screen door behind him.
Traffic was good. Be nice to Pop's work buddies, will you, champ?
He tousled my hair absent-mindedly before wandering to the tool shed. Alabaster fixed his sparse hair in our mirror. Cavil padded into the kitchen with gleaming feet. Our dog barked from the yard.
Screws missed you.
Missed him too.
Her.
What?
Darling, I made apple pie.
My mom came out of the kitchen, her apron swinging, the picture-perfect Penelope in a 50s dream. The two ever-grinning men came in for a slice of the pie.
Alabaster.
I heard the comb-overed man call his companion from the seat behind the bathroom door.
We have to head out soon.
You tell him, Gabble.
You're Cavil. You've forgotten again, haven't you?
So how's it going, Pop?
I asked him as I always did over the kitchen table.
What are you carrying in the truck?
Nothing. Won't be home too late delivering.
My smile fell at his evasion. I picked at my crumbling slice of pie, feeling very far apart from the man sitting across from me. When Alabaster and Cavil thanked my mother for the meal, they switched names once again. When they finally left the paint-chipped front porch, I watched my pop board the truck, pounding the big white box in the back before settling into the driver's seat. I swear I heard something knock back. One August, finally overcome with curiosity, I hopped on my Skyrider and I followed my pop to the loading area. It was a long ride, much farther than school, but I was a robust biker. I followed my pop down the highway, then off a side road into an open field, far beyond the view of the passing cars. The corn here was yellow with autumn, and only when the sounds of the highway faded did the dome of the shipping yard come into view. I parked my bike by a bale of hay and peeked around the straw. It made me giggle to see his truck without a behind to it. Then I watched as the front was hooked up with new cargo, and my pop was all set for the trek. But before he took off, he hopped down the steps up to the driver's seat and hustled over to the bale of hay I was crouching behind.
Hey, kid.
I froze.
Pop,
There was no excuse I could make. I had followed him over a mile and was only now becoming profoundly aware that there were some places where children weren't wanted. But my pop only sighed, threw open the door of the cab, and jerked his head at the elevated seats.
Hop in.
I just stared at him.
Come on.
Not wanting to be disobedient, I followed him to his truck as excitement, guilt, and fear jumped rope in my stomach. I looked down at the steps as I climbed them. I had never been inside his truck before, and felt important and tall as I ascended the cab. The truck smelled like sunflower seeds and coffee.
Now I've got someone to take shotgun. Keep an eye on things.
He grinned at me, gesturing to the radio.
Put something on, co-pilot.
I'm sorry I followed you, Pop.
It's natural for a kid to get curious why their pop ain't home, go looking for them on their own. I know we haven't had much time to really get to know each other, not since you were little.
I nodded because I didn't know how to comfort him.
Pop, what's in the back?
How would you like to drive around with me? I can take you as far as Aunt Dez's. Then I gotta head west.
Nebraska to top right Colorado was all fine by me. My pop started the ignition and put one hairy arm on the wheel. He turned it gently, his wrist against the curve of the plastic, and we were on our way. I finally found a radio station with something resembling music, and my pop got excited.
So you hear this one's about the songwriter having a premonition of his brother's death as a child, but that's all a bunch of baloney. That's the story they built up around it. It's not real. Truth is, it's just a man's musings on the fate of some of the best musicians of his time, except he drives miles and miles for references between him and himself and that grief. That Jack who jumped over the candlestick, that's the devil.
I shivered, the name calling to mind that red demon that the grade school boys claimed rose from hell and lurked in the cornfields.
There's a lot here to deconstruct. It can take a man his whole life to figure out what he meant by some of these lines. There are some that still haven't been explained.
Didn't the songwriter explain them?
He only confirmed theories. He never volunteered anything more. But hey, maybe you'll be the one to figure out the whole damn song. Just gotta listen, that's all. Listen, watch, and connect the two.
So I did. I listened to the song as I watched the road as it quivered on the horizon like a mirage. I watched the sun set like a car with one headlight out, and when I couldn't find anything else to watch, I stared at the telephone pole, poking into the sky in a field far, far down the road, with a red light that never stopped blinking. I could almost hear it beep and blitz every time, like neon coming to life.
Pop, what's in the back?
My pop pulled over. He took a long, deep sigh and then pushed open the door. A stiff wind tousled my hair.
Open the glove compartment.
He ordered me. I hesitated, confused.
Open it, and take out the ball of yarn.
Eyeing him in puzzlement, I did as I was told. The yarn was old and frayed, but wrapped up with care.
Good. Now take it with you, and follow close.
He hopped out. I followed him around the side of the truck to the back of a trailer where a dozen latches and locks kept the contents from escaping. My pop unlocked each and every one of these and pulled open the doors with a grunt. Deeper than the container could ever fit stood tall slabs of stone, winding a maze of unlikely angles, shapes, and pathways under a bloody sunrise sky. Inside the truck was a labyrinth.
Oh, can I go inside?
My pop leaned down and took the ball of yarn from my palm. He unwound it with a practiced hand and offered me the end.
Don't let go.
His eyes were sharp. I nodded and wound the end of the yarn around my fingers so tight that my skin reddened. My pop helped me get up into the compartment and let me wander into the labyrinth. It was immediately chillier. The walls were textured and pitted, marred with vines. Immersed in the maze, I could see I was somewhere else. Somewhere with clouds and grass and an atmosphere all its own. I walked through the passageways, pausing when I collided with dead ends and met the line of yarn in areas I passed before. I scaled the walls and looked out on the endless web of stone in wonder. A plume of smoke curled up from the center of the maze, twisting into the sky. I felt my pop tug on the string, and I carefully climbed down and retraced my steps, following the yarn back out to Nebraska.
Who buys these?
I had a million questions.
I sell to prisons, parties, folks who want things hidden. Sometimes the CIA asks for them.
What's in the center?
Whatever the customers want.
Maybe some recluse could find some peace in the labyrinth.
I thought, before realizing.
It was also a good place to hide a body. Perhaps there was a whole little town in there made up of beings who couldn't live outside the labyrinth's walls, who couldn't live without the maze around them. Should I tell them about the inch of life that I saw inside? What if I was bothering someone within?
Eventually I did bring it up, after my pop packed the labyrinth back up tight and set us down the road again. When I mentioned the smoke, my pop's brows furrowed, but all he said was,
Leave them be.
Keep the song on.
The familiar first chords of a pop song chimed over the radio.
You like this?
The engine rumbled behind us.
Yeah.
My eyes dropped to my feet self-consciously.
Why?
Oh,
I had to think about it. Desperate to impress him, I sagely said.
it's about this person who had a bad relationship.
I glanced over at my pop, who nodded along.
They had good times together, but now she's collecting her records and changing her number and treating him like a stranger. And this guy doesn't even need her that much, but he wishes that she acted like she cared. Also, I like the melody.
That's a fair reason to like any song.
My pop turned the radio up. He conned on to the chorus, and we sang along. When we finally reached Aunt Dez's, my pop helped me out of the truck with a cup full of sunflower seeds that tied me over.
Thanks for letting me ride along.
I looked up at him in that great machine.
Of course, chap. Now the world's a little wider for you, eh?
Hey,
Give the labyrinth a pound, will you?
a pound?
Like a gong.
I walked over to the white box compartment and made a fist.
Thumb outside your fist.
I swung my arm back and collided it with the trailer. The metal clanged. I looked back at my father. He grinned.
Put your ear against it.
I did. From inside the truck I could hear the rushing of the wind, the clicking of gears, and faint lyre music, which became louder at my pound. I looked back at my pop, and he tipped an invisible hat to me. I giggled at this, and he returned to his seat. With the cough of the engine, the truck took off, the rearview mirror offering my last glimpse at the side of his face as I stood in the kicked-up dust of his wheels.
A few decades after that, my father delivered his last load, unbuckled the back of the truck, and disappeared into the labyrinth within. No one ever went in after him, and he never came back out. It was a round, soft-edged vanishing, like the kind of disappearance that felt right. He and that truck were always connected anyway, like magnets being pulled to one another. That great truck wouldn't let him retire, the same way he wouldn't let it go to rust in some field off of the highway somewhere. I drive the truck now, delivering crate transportation and services along the turnpikes and highways of Middle America. I pass Alabaster and Cabell, or perhaps Cabell and Alabaster, on the road with a nod, my radio turned up high. Sometimes I can hear the labyrinth in the back singing along with me.
This has been Strange Cargo. Thank you for listening.